Welcome back to Public Affairs on Peach. I'm Bobby Capel, and this week we are talking about the Atlanta Beltline with Paul Morris, President and CEO of Beltline, Inc., and Rob Bronner, who is the Executive Director of the partnership there at the Beltline. Now, you guys are serious about the affordable housing aspect of this as well. Let's go there now. How does that impact everything, and how do you make sure that it happens?
From its very inception, access and affordability were concerns that City Council and the community at large cared about. And most people don't realize that not only are we commissioned to implement the infrastructure, the trails, the transit, the parks, the streetscapes, things like that, but also there have to be tangible outcomes that benefit everyone. And affordability is a key element of the program. We have, as part of our kind of list of mandates, the creation of 5,600 units of workforce housing all around the Beltline. From rental housing to home ownership opportunities.
So what kind of people do you expect to live in those areas? People that work in the area there and want to...
Folks who make generally 80% or less of area median income. Mm-hmm. So for a single person household, that's $35,000 to $40,000 a year. Mm-hmm. By some estimates, that is about 40% of our workforce in the center city.
Okay.
And for folks who want to be able to live in the city, the lack of affordable housing can be a barrier, and so we don't want that to happen. We want people of all ages, all incomes, to be able to know that they have an opportunity and a chance to be able to live near or along the Beltline in whatever lifestyle makes sense for them.
And these aren't just affordable houses, they're very nice housing.
These are market quality housing that is priced at affordable rates. Yeah. And so you wouldn't be able to tell the difference, one unit to another, of what's getting built. And it's really important because at the end of the day, as a city grows up, and Atlanta's going through an extraordinary renaissance that we're all getting to be a part of, it's very easy for the working class of the community to be impacted in a negative way. And so making that a mission, right? So it's one thing to create what we call the outputs, all that great park and trail and other stuff. It's another thing to be quality outcomes that benefit the community. So whether it's the affordable housing that we're working not only with the Atlanta Housing Authority and the City of Atlanta's Housing Department and Invest Atlanta, who are our government and partners, but we work even with the private sector. We have a unique partnership right now with the Federal Home Loan Bank of Atlanta and its 66 member banks, where we co-fund down payment assistance and rehab assistance for single family residents around the Beltline.
And Rob, I understand that there was a $13 million purchase or grant or something that came in on the affordable housing front. Can you touch on that?
Well, actually, that was a bond that Atlanta Beltline, Inc. is issuing. So I'll let Paul talk about it. But one thing, if you don't mind, before he does that, just to point out, affordable housing, this is for teachers, this is for police officers, this is for firemen. This is the people who sustain our economy and sustain our community. And so the ability for them to have a place in the communities around the Beltline is incredibly important. And affordable housing is also not unique. This is a challenge not unique to the Atlanta Beltline.
Every big city.
Every big city is experiencing it, and it's going to
ones that are booming like Atlanta.
Right. So it's a good problem to have in a way, right? It's better than being Detroit, but it's also one that requires pretty bold policy and funding initiatives, and it's as much wonderful work as Atlanta Beltline, Inc. is doing. It's going to take a full spectrum of partners, public and private and nonprofit and foundation, to really help us ensure that everybody can live along the Atlanta Beltline.
Let's take a step back for a second. How'd you guys get involved in this, Rob? Start with you.
Yeah.
What made you interested in this?
I wanted to give back to my community. I was kind of driven into the nonprofit sector by my faith, and after a business career, I went to business school at Emory, and then went into that knowing that I wanted to transition into a job that would allow me to give back to the community. And when the Atlanta Beltline, which at that point, this was back in 2006, because I've been with the partnership since the beginning, back at that point, this was still an idea with words and pictures, but the vision and the potential and the promise of the Atlanta Beltline was just too big and impactful to bypass. So when I had the opportunity, and Ray Weeks asked me to join the team, I couldn't pass it up.
Very cool. Paul, how about you?
I've been here 3.5 years and came through a much more aggressive recruiting process, most recently in North Carolina. But really have had a personal life and career working in cities around efforts to rebuild, rehabilitate, revitalize neighborhoods and work with communities around efforts to make quality of life improvements and the opportunity for mobility and economic prosperity available to folks. And Atlanta is one of maybe a dozen cities on the East Coast and across the country that really has embraced this notion that to be complete, everybody has to have great mobility. And the Beltline is one of those rare opportunities where it is coming back in after the fact and putting in place that missing piece of infrastructure.
And the old world feel to like the Sears building and all that is part of the charm. It's
absolutely.
Just build around, embrace it, lean into it, et cetera.
That's right.
Okay. City Council member Andre Dickens recently introduced a inclusionary zoning ordinance at City Hall. What does that mean and how does it impact this?
As part of our overall program to create affordability, we are consistently challenged by the real estate market and the accelerated way in which that market wants to participate in the city. And getting access to land and making sure the housing comes along in a way that meets all of the income needs of our residents means that the development community that builds all the, especially multifamily housing, participates in that. And that then the business community who relies on the folks who work in their businesses to be able to live near where they work, to be able to also benefit from that. And so it's kind of a planner jargon term to call it inclusionary zoning. What it's really saying is in the future, housing that's built in the city that has more than 5 units of housing on a project site will commit either 10 or 15% of those units to meeting affordable housing goals.
Gotcha.
And that those will be kept permanently affordable so folks who don't earn market incomes but are the workforce have the option to also live in the same neighborhoods.
I'm curious what impact this has had on bringing companies to the area. Can you touch on that, Rob?
Sure. I mean, every day it seems like you're hearing an announcement about a new company that's choosing to locate in town. I mean, just on the Atlanta Beltline, you've got Google, you've got Athena Health, Cardlytics.
Those are big name companies.
They are, and it's not
kind of the
just
modern blue chip.
Yeah,
right? It is, and it's not just about the Atlanta Beltline. Although obviously there is a lot going on around the Atlanta Beltline. But when Kaiser locates its headquarters on a MARTA line, I mean, you see the desire for companies to locate on transit, right, where their employees can get from the suburbs without having to be stuck in traffic.
Especially in a city with a lot of it.
Exactly.
Well, and we're seeing an interesting shift within company decision making. Historically, companies located where the CEO wanted to live.
Right.
And that's what drove a lot of CEOs and their companies to the suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
Very significantly, that has shifted to where CEOs are now wanting to go where the talent is. And Atlanta is a city that millennials, Gen Xers, even kind of mid-career professionals want to live. And
it's a great city, no doubt.
And in a very competitive environment for talent, the major companies are saying we want to be where our employees want to live.
Interesting shift.
The CEOs also want to live there, right?
Right.
And so it's changing everyone's expectations about what that looks like, how that feels, what's available to them. So do they have a better quality of life? Is it cleaner? Is it safer? Is it more beautiful? Is it more accessible? And those are aspects that the unique nature of Atlanta is embracing, and believe it or not, for a lot of people didn't know existed and has been here all along. And then with a certain amount of improved care and feeding, so to speak, is making it all the more better. And the Beltline is really kind of becoming the, if you want to call it, the seminal feature of a lot of those efforts.
Well, I'll tell you what, how about we talk about the future of the Beltline when we come back? Does that sound good? Let's do it.